Welcome back to All the Sins of Wisconsin. I'm Falon and I'm here with Mims. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great too. You look absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. You do too.
Thank you. So if people are listening somewhere and they're not watching, you can check us out on YouTube so you can see how happy we are. It's sunny outside.
Yes, we're just gleefully living right now because of the weather that we've been dying for.
It's crazy how quickly my mood changes. I'm like, oh my god, I love everything. The sun is out, I love everything.
Right? I totally
It's
get
so simple. And then I'm like, why do I live in Wisconsin where it's cold and I hate my life half the year?
it. Seriously. But I think it's kind of a trade-off for the people that have that live in like no four-season states because a lot of them like have alligators and just flying spiders and they have all sorts of different shit and all we get is the winter and storms and shit. I think I think I would take that over an alligator, I guess. I don't know.
I like alligators.
Do you?
I do. I think they're cute.
Okay.
I would probably try to like talk to it and see if it wanted to be my friend, and then I'd be eaten.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah.
And that's why you live here, because you can't be eaten.
That's why I live here, because I would try to befriend an alligator.
Exactly.
Okay, today I am telling the story of the Pizza Man fire. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not.
Okay. I hadn't heard about it before either, but apparently it was a big, huge thing.
Okay.
So my sources today are MilwaukeeMag.com, ABC13.com, and Fox6Now.com. So the Pizza Man fire was the most high-profile arson case in recent Milwaukee history. It started off as an explosion and then started into a fire that engulfed a bar, 3 restaurants, including the East Sideinstitution, the Pizza Man, and 10 upstairs apartments. Fortunately, no employees or residents were injured, but the building and its businesses were completely destroyed. Anger over the fire remains today, in no small part because whoever set the fire, it would appear, got away with it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's 3:30 in the morning on January 19th, 2010, and all of a sudden there is a thunderous boom that can not only be heard, but can be felt. I don't know if any of you have ever been around an explosion, but it's not just a noise. It shakes the whole area around.
That just happened not too long ago where there was a thunderstorm, at least in where I live, and it like shook my house. I haven't been in a thunderstorm like that before, and my dogs were scared. So I definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that happened at my house too. It woke me up out of my sleep because it was intense.
Yeah, and you're a heavy sleeper, aren't you?
No.
No? No, I'm just thinking about myself.
Not even a little bit. I don't think I ever sleep all the way.
I don't know like what it is about me, but I'm a heavy sleeper and I can sleep until like infinite amount of hours. I don't know. And I tell that to my husband and he's just like, fuck you and your great sleep, because he's like such a light sleeper. Anything like just the heat it's just too hot in there, he can't sleep. There's like a little bit of noise that he doesn't like, he can't sleep. It needs to be perfect for him, you know?
Yeah, I sleep with something on so I don't hear all the noises, and sometimes that helps. Sometimes I have to sleep with noise canceling headphones. I still get woken up by shit. Like,
wow,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know how people like you just go to sleep.
Just go to sleep. I
don't know.
It's a gift.
It doesn't work for me. It's a gift. I'm jealous. Okay, so they hear this boom, and moments later, smoke begins seeping into the apartments. The alarms start going off, and the residents are fleeing into like the dark, frigid night because this is January in Milwaukee, so it's absolutely freezing outside. And then the firefighters arrive on the scene, but the fire had already spread through the entire building, so there wasn't much they could do. They ordered the firefighters searching inside for the source of the fire to evacuate and called for reinforcements. They said there was no chance of putting out the fire with the personnel we had on hand.
Right.
Flames shot through the roof and the windows, and smoke billowed out. And people in the crowd were watching them try to save the famed Pizza Man, as well as Grecian Delight, a gyro chicken and burger joint, Black and White Cafe, a burger, wings, and sandwich spot, and Kush Lounge, an often bustling bar. But it was nothing but fire and smoke all over.
That's such a shame that it's like all these really great eateries. Like, what?
Mm-hmm. There was more than 150 firefighters that battled the blaze for more than 5 hours before they got it under control.
Wow.
And 3 of them were injured in the process.
Oh no.
By the time it was over, the upstairs apartments on the east side of the building had collapsed into the first floor. The entire building, which was valued at more than $3 million, was completely ruined.
Wow.
And Poliak from the fire department, he said, given the size and scope of it, it was the biggest fire in his career, and that was just 1 year before his retirement.
Oh,
So he's
shit.
a lot of fires. Right away, investigators began questioning witnesses and business owners, and right away they had the ATF there. So Rick Hankins, a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, quickly determined that the fire had started in the Black and White Cafe because it was the most badly burned.
Mm.
And it was suspected early on that the fire was not an accident, but an arson. They're like, we already know. This was not an electrical fire, did not cause an explosion, and this giant fire that we can't put out. Like, somebody did this.
Right.
So then they brought in a black lab canine named Moon. How cute is that?
Oh my god. Yes.
Oh my god, that's so adorable. And Moon quickly sniffed out gasoline on burned debris in the cafe. And then they later confirmed that it was gasoline by lab test. So Moon was like, here, this is where the fire started. And then they brought it to the lab, and they're like, yeah, you were right.
I love that.
I know. Surveillance video from a business across the street showed a ball of fire inside the Black and White Cafe just before the initial 911 call. And forensic investigators determined that gasoline was poured near the restrooms in the back of the restaurant. And when it was lit, the gas fumes vaporized, causing the explosion. So they said the only question from the beginning was who started the fire.
Right.
Hankins and the ATF quickly turned their sights on the owner of the Black and White Cafe, the then 26-year-old owner, Ferris Rahman. He was a tall, thin man with a tightly trimmed goatee. He opened the cafe in 2008, and he was questioned by investigators numerous times. He said, they asked me the same questions over and over again. Then they said, well, we suspect you had something to do with it. When they said that, he was shocked because it didn't make sense to him. I just lost everything I'm working for, and now they think that I did it.
Right.
And then they said there was no forced entry into his unit, but the back door was left unlocked. And they said that Rahman had lied about the health of his business and about the potential sale of his business because he had just spoken with a real estate broker 2 weeks prior to the fire.
Oh, that's not good.
So he's saying business was going well. Why would I end it? But at the same time, was trying to sell it.
Right.
So they're like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Then they found a laptop that he said was destroyed in the fire. They found it at his house.
Uh-oh.
And on this laptop were images and maps of the alleys and streets surrounding the now destroyed building.
Oh no.
And they said whoever was using the laptop was trying to find a backdoor pathway to the back of the building. But he was not indicted until May of 2011. And then the grand jury indicted him on a number of felonies, including arson by explosion, arson to commit fraud, and making false statements to investigators about the laptop. If convicted on all the charges, he faced more than 50 years in prison. Federal prosecutors believe Rahman maliciously devised and participated in a scheme to set the fire and then falsely claimed that the fire was an accident to receive, guess how much his insurance payout was?
$300,000.
Only $135,000.
That's not worth it at all.
It's not worth it at all. What are you going to do with that?
Nothing.
Of course, Rahman's attorneys felt otherwise. They believed that he was a victim just like everybody else. He said, and he was at his residence in South Milwaukee when the fire was started, and this fact was supported by his cell phone records. So then they accused him of having someone else start the fire or colluding with someone to do it, but there was no evidence of this.
Okay.
His attorneys also pointed out a different suspect that they say that the ATF overlooked. Andy Carabellas, I believe, the owner of the restaurant next door, the Grecian Delight. They said that Carabellas was hemorrhaging financially, he was in serious debt, and was being shut off by restaurant suppliers for non-payment.
Ooh.
And he had a $250,000 insurance policy. So they're like, my client barely has any insurance. This guy has $250,000 in insurance. So
right.
That's twice the motive.
Right.
So Carabellas had opened the Grecian Delight in 1987. He'd had it for a long time. But he was upset that Rahman's restaurant next door was cutting into his business. So it sounds like they had a little beef about who wants to go here, who wants to go here. Because apparently being next door to each other, people would just pick and choose. But they're going to do that anyways.
Right, right. I mean, that's just
eat at the same place every day.
That's so true. And you can't have a business without competition. It's just how the market is. There's always going to be somebody that's doing it better than you or doing it worse than you. You just got to suck it up.
If there's no competition, that means there's no interest in what you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. People are crazy. But Rahman's attorneys thought that was enough motivation to burn down his building. And the defense said that Carabellas had means to do it because they had a shared basement door between the restaurants.
That's reasonable doubt right there.
Mm-hmm. It was a lockable door with sole control of the lock on the Greek side. The particular layout of the basement made it more of an open air area than actual discrete private property. So even though they had their own businesses upstairs, the basement was more kind of like one big basement.
Oh, okay.
But there was a door in between, but he could open the door to go to the other side.
Right, right.
But he, of course, denies starting the fire as well. He says we were established and had regular clientele, and that every restaurant has debt, but I was making a living from it and paying my debt as I went. About the shared basement, he says the door was always locked and that he kept freezers and furniture in front of it. I never went through there. I never had access. So he's like, yeah, there was a door, but I kept shit in front of it, so nobody was using it.
Right, but he can't say that he was making a living off of it because it was dying.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But arson has one of the lowest clearance rates of any crime out here. Of the 57,000 arsons reported in 2010, only 11,000 arrests were made.
Wow.
Hmm.
I guess that is kind of hard to prove unless there's something damning.
Yeah. And they said even when people are arrested, successful prosecutions are relatively rare.
Wow.
So now we go back to Raman's trial. On May 18th, 2012, after a 2-week trial, the jury, to the shock of many, acquitted him on the arson counts. And they found him guilty of only lying to investigators about the laptop.
Right.
Raman says he was really, really happy, thinking he would get probation because he has an otherwise clean criminal record, at most 6 months in prison based on federal sentencing guidelines. But the judge had a different idea. So, U.S. Attorney Kelly Watska asked the U.S. District Judge Rudolph Randa to apply what's known as acquitted conduct sentencing, which is very controversial. So you take into account the totality of the charges, even though they've been acquitted of the charges.
Okay.
Which is dirty. How do you do that?
No.
They said the jury's verdict does not necessarily translate to a finding of actual innocence.
But then why do we have juries then? Why do we have these things then? That makes no sense.
Not at all. So the U.S. attorneys offered a few excuses as to why the jury found Raman not guilty and why the judge should still factor in his alleged role in starting the fire. They said the jury may have been troubled by the fact that they couldn't prove whether the defendant actually started the fire or whether he procured someone else to do it for him, even though he should be criminally responsible in either scenario. They may have been uncomfortable finding guilt beyond a reasonable doubt because of the defense theory that fire scene investigators should have done more. But Watska argued that Raman's allegedly lying about the laptop was too much to ignore. So at sentencing in March of 2013, almost a year after the trial, Judge Randa agreed. The judge, who died in 2016, explained his reasoning very dramatically. Why does an honest man tell lies? To cover something up, said Randa, according to court transcripts. Shakespeare said, lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds.
That is really dramatic.
So dramatic.
Yeah.
So he threw the book at Raman, applying acquitted conduct sentencing to his lone conviction, 30 months in prison plus 3 years of probation for lying about a laptop.
Ooh.
So after another year and a half, in November of 2015, Raman was completely and legally cleared of any wrongdoing. A 3-judge panel of the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago overturned his conviction for lying about the laptop, writing, the fact that one of his computers was found in his home and did not contain business records was not sufficient to find him guilty of the charged false statement. So that's a really good point that the district court had that I hadn't thought about. He could have a laptop at work and have a laptop at home.
Right.
He could have a laptop that burned up at his place of business that was his business laptop and still had a personal laptop at his house, because I know a lot of people that don't mix the two together.
Right. Yep. And I mean, you're not supposed to mix a lot of those two things together anyways, so.
Right. And especially if you're doing like your restaurant ordering and all that stuff on your laptop, you probably have employees doing some of that stuff.
Right.
You have to have like your personal email, your dating sites, or your selfies, and whatever porn you watch at home.
Right. That's
all
so
on your
valid.
business laptop.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're like, no, he's not guilty of anything. And you guys just had him in prison.
Just like wasting his life and our money, just housing him for no reason.
Yeah. The appeals court also found that Randa erred in determining that Raman was the only one with access to his restaurant because they neglected the shared basement space, and in repeatedly searching the basement investigators had exceeded Raman's signed search consent. So, despite this conclusion, investigators still believe that he was the culprit because there's no evidence that anyone else committed the act. The suspect either acted alone or within a conspiracy.
I feel like they didn't look at the other guy thoroughly.
Or anyone, like they could have had enemies.
Right.
It could have been somebody upstairs that had enemies that lived in an apartment. It could have been
a random.
Somebody didn't want that building there anymore.
Yeah, or like some random pyromaniac, it just randomly does it.
Yeah, and that happens, and people act like it doesn't. Arson is something you don't necessarily have a motive.
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons that it's so hard to solve. It could just be random.
Right.
I like fires, and here's somewhere I can start a fire. And like,
right.
Oh my god, the whole building blew up, even fucking better.
Right, because for people that have that pyromania, it's like sexually gratifying for them, and it's a thrill for them as well. So you don't need it to be like a targeted person or anything like that. It's just for their self-pleasure. So how do you even go about solving that,
Yeah. So Raman, now 34, says the whole experience really left its mark on him. He never goes to the East Side anymore. He said there's too many bad memories and flashbacks about the fire and what I had and don't have anymore.
Oh, man.
About 6 months after the fire, he did end up opening and still operates a used car dealership that prosecutors say was the reason that he started the fire, which is Trans Auto, which is on West Lincoln and West Forest Home Avenues in Milwaukee. So they're like, see, he wanted the money to start this car lot, and now he still has this car lot, and now everybody else is out of their businesses.
Okay, well, what is he supposed to do for the rest of his life? Like, just not do anything? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Condition? Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
So the Pizza Man owner was semi-retired at the time of the fire and figured he'd throw in the towel on the restaurant business after the fire, but other people wouldn't let him.
Oh.
So, aided by an investment group and the new chef and operations manager team, Zach and Sarah Baker, Pizza Man reopened on the corner of Downer Ave and Bellevue Place in July of 2013. And it's a huge space compared to the restaurant's the original restaurant was 50 seats, and this one is 250. And it spans 2 floors. And the bar upstairs was reclaimed and restored from the original burned location.
Oh,
isn't that cute?
Yeah.
And patrons waited hours for a table when the new location opened.
Wow.
He said, I couldn't believe the loyalty. If I had waited another year, I could have lost all that. And he said now they have a location in Wauwatosa that they opened in 2015 and a location in Oak Creek that they opened in 2016. He is still part, I don't know how to say his name, Amidzik? It's Amidzich. He remains part owner of Pizza Man, although he's fully retired now, and he dabbles in Bitcoin trading past his time. And he said the new success helps, but the way he lost the original Pizza Man still stings. And he still thinks that Raman did it. He said when Raman's not guilty verdict was read, I couldn't believe it. I know he did it. He got away with it. There's no doubt in my mind.
Wow. I just love
like a whodunit.
I love that he's like, I'm ready to retire, I'm gonna hang up the towel, and everybody's like, no, you're not done. If anything, you're gonna double, you're gonna expand, we're gonna just go all out. And he's like, I guess.
It's like, I just want to sit at home and trade Bitcoin on my phone.
No, you're not done.
And they're like, no, we want some pizza.
Yeah, we need your pizza, man.
It's gotta be really good pizza.
Is it still open? We should go try it.
Yeah, one of them just opened in 2016, so there's 3 of them now.
It must be really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you
I
guys
need to
have
find out
been,
now.
if you guys have been to this location or any other locations, let us know if it's good, how it's popping over there, because we're interested.
Yeah, we're gonna go check it out one day.
Yeah. Wow, what a story.
I was like, I'm gonna do something different. And I was like, this story is very interesting because it could have been anyone. It could have been one of the business owners. It could have been somebody that lived there. It could have been somebody's mad ex-girlfriend. Like, you just
Right.
don't know. But everybody's like, no, dude did it. And if he did, he got away with it.
Right. Yeah. What a different pace of case that you covered. Thank you for that.
Welcome. I didn't want anybody to die this week.
Yes, thank you for that. Well, we love you guys.
We do.
Bye.
Bye.